Good evening from the Channel studio in London for your international news around the world in 5. Police in Kenya's capital, Nairobi, have used tear gas to disperse anti-government protesters, calling on President William Ruto to step down. At least one death and several injuries have been reported. Youth-led nationwide protests that broke out a month ago against proposed tax hikes have continued even after President Ruto withdrew the legislation and fired nearly his entire cabinet. Many demonstrators are demanding that the president step down, blaming him for misgovernance, corruption, and the deaths of at least 50 protesters during earlier anti-government rallies.
We want Kitwakwaza Ruto must go. That is the one, because he has failed to give us accountability.
Ruto is very much incompetent. He has no leadership skills. He just wanted the title to be the president of this country. After sending, we know like what the guy is a puppet to IMF. That is
Rwandan President Paul Kagame is on course to extend his 24-year rule by another 5 years in a landslide victory. Partial results announced by the Electoral Commission show he has 99.15% of the votes so far, with about 79% of ballots counted. The full provisional results are due by the 20th of July and the final ones by the 27th. The 66-year-old faced only 2 challenges after several prominent critics were barred from standing. In an address from the headquarters of his ruling Rwandan Patriotic Front, President Kagame thanked Rwandans for giving him a 4th term in office. Donald Trump has received a hero's welcome at the Republican National Convention, his first public appearance since he survived an attempted assassination. The former U.S. president, who wore a bandage over his right ear after it was hit by a bullet during a rally in Pennsylvania, entered the convention venue to loud cheers and a live performance of the song God Bless the USA. He did not speak as he's due to give the event's keynote address on Thursday, but appeared moved by the reception. The 78-year-old formally clinched his party's nomination for the presidency on Monday, just minutes after he had announced he had chosen Ohio Senator J.D. Vance as his 2024 running mate. At least 4 soldiers have been killed in a gunfight with suspected militants in Indian-administered Kashmir. It's the latest in a recent spate of attacks by armed insurgents in the disputed region. Security forces came under fire on Monday night when they were carrying out a search operation in the forest of Doda district in Jammu. Last week, 5 soldiers were killed when their vehicle was ambushed in another part of the region, which is disputed by India and Pakistan. At least 8 attacks have been reported in the region since June. A university student has been killed in the second day of violent clashes in Bangladesh over a quota that allows relatives of ex-soldiers to take up to 30% of government jobs. Police fired tear gas and rubber bullets in violent scenes between a pro-government student body and student protesters at a public university outside the capital, Dhaka. Tens of thousands of students are taking part in the nationwide protest, which saw more than 100 people injured on Monday. Protesters are demanding an end to a quota reserved for family members of veterans who fought in Bangladesh's War of Independence in 1971. And finally, the first swan opping of King Charles's reign is underway in Britain, continuing an 800-year-old tradition where the monarch's swans are counted. The count is carried out every July by brightly dressed crews of swan uppers in rowing boats over 5 days. The tradition dates back to the 12th century when the English crown first claimed ownership of all mute swans and were then considered a delicacy. The count is a quirky mix of vivid royal spectacle and conservation project, with spectators lining riverbanks along the River Thames. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.